Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Alyeska Pipeline Service Company, sustaining Alaska's pipeline and its operations today and into the future.
The National Weather Service.
Welcome to your Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Percy. This is your Alaska Weather for April 14th, 2016. You can follow us on www.arh.noaa.gov, also on Facebook and Twitter. Starting off with tonight's hazards, we have a continued blowing snow advisory for the western Arctic coast. That remains in effect until 4 p.m. On Friday, and that'll have easterly winds 30 miles per hour, gusting to 40 miles per hour. And then along the northern Arctic coast, you'll have a blowing snow advisory as well. It remains in effect until 6 a.m. on Friday, and that'll be mainly south of Barrow. And then look for gusty easterly winds 25 miles per hour, gusting to 40 miles per hour. And then along the northern western Brooks Range, you have continued blowing snow advisory. It remains in effect until 6 a.m. Friday, and that will be mainly along the Arctic Plain north of Umiat. And again, easterly winds 25 miles per hour, gusting to 40 miles per hour. With these blowing snow advisories, look for visibilities less than a half a mile at times. And then for the blizzard warnings, we have from the central to the eastern Beaufort, blizzard warnings will remain in effect until 10 p.m. this evening. And look for easterly winds 35 miles per hour, gusting to 50 miles per hour. Along the eastern range there, eastern portion, mainly be west of Kaktovik. And then along the northeastern Brooks Range, continued blizzard warning remains in effect until 10 p.m. this evening. And again, easterly winds gusting to 50 miles per hour. And again, look for visibilities less than a half a mile visibility. Starting off the satellite, putting it into loop here, we have an occluded low pressure system right here just south of Dutch, and with a front extending through the southern Gulf region, a swath of moisture that's spilling over into the Alaska Peninsula. And then in the southeast, we have a low pressure system that's just pushing in into just west of Yakutat with a trailing front along the southeast panhandle. And you'll again have a continued onshore flow and cloud cover with some light rain for that portion. And then farther north, we have the disturbance with our high pressure sitting over here over the Arctic. You have easterly flow, and then southerly moisture coming up. I can't get those words out of my mouth. Anyway, that's producing blowing snow issues and blizzard, as we've seen before in our hazards. And then through the northwest, northern Bering and central Bering, you have that northerly flow and low stratus, so you're getting some scattered snow showers through this region. And then farther out southwest, over the south of the western Aleutians, you have this trailing warm front right here that's pushing in, so you have all this warm moisture pushing up and high clouds moving into the western Aleutians. And putting that into loop, you can see as the clouds start moving in and that warm front starting to push in. Today's weather, again, we have a weak trough sitting there over the eastern Brooks Range. Again, strong gradient easterly flow, so you have snow and blowing snow issues that's been reported, as well over there along the northwest coastline. And then you have the trailing not cold front, but trough that's pushing through the lower Chukchi Sea and the northern Bering Strait. So that's clearing some things out, but pretty much is bringing more colder air down through the Bering Strait into the northern Bering. Over in the southeast, again, we talked about that low pressure system that's pushing into the northern Gulf there near Yakutat, trailing trough that's pushing in that will clear out clear the system out later on, but light rain producing in the southeast panhandle. And then you have that low pressure system there, that Clue low south of Kodiak, with a trailing occluded front extending through the Gulf. That's producing some easterly flow and some moisture, producing some light rain along the Akpen and spilling over into the eastern Bering. And here's your strong northerly flow. You get some scattered rain here along the Dutch and also, well, east of Dutch, but also over the Privilos region. And then you have that warm front that's approaching over the south of the western Aleutians. Tonight's forecast, and that occluded low will continue to just sit there and lose its support and fall apart as trailing occluded front pushing through the northern Gulf. It falls apart. It'll continue to bring some light moisture and rain through the northern Gulf and the coastal communities. In the southeast, you have some light rain that continued. Farther up along the eastern Alaska range, you're going to have the easterly flow and a weak, not strong gradient right here. So you have some blowing snow issues there going into the Yukon Territory. Farther north along the Arctic coastline, for tonight, again, that easterly flow, strong gradient. So you're going to have snow and blowing snow, and you have moisture in that region, and that weak trough that's sitting through the northern Bering and in the YK Delta region. So it's clearing the skies out there. Along the central Aleutians to the eastern Aleutians, you're going to have the northeast flow here, northerly, and you're going to have a wintry mix a little farther out as you get close to Adak and Atka. But your stronger system is that occluded low that's farther out, just southwest of the Shemya region. Again, you have a wintry mix with that strong southerly push coming in and warmer air coming in. So Friday's forecast, the occluded low will continue to fall apart, a weak trough through the Gulf, and then out southerly flow, light rain through the southeast panhandle and the northern Gulf, the dry slot through the Anchorage Bowl and out the Matsu Valley. Again, the weak stationary front just north of the Alaska range there. The Alaskan range, as I mentioned, and then farther north you get continued effects of the easterly gradient and blowing snow issues. Along the northern Bering, you're going to have that trough producing scattered snow showers, as well as extending down to the Privilos and the central Bering. The southwest or the western Aleutians, you're going to have that strong south or southeasterly flow with that occluded system pushing in, so plenty of moisture and stronger gradient coming in that region. Saturday's forecast, that included low 970 millibars. That occluded system will finally push through the western Aleutians with a warm front just extending south of the central Aleutians. So you're going to have a strong southeasterly gradient through the lower to central and western Bering Sea. So wintry mix with a warmer air starting to push in. Over the southeast, continued that low pressure sitting over the southern Gulf, just falling apart, and light southeasterly flow, so light rain, scattered rain showers here and there in the Gulf. Farther north, you're going to have that weak trough extending through the eastern Alaska range down into the lower and upper Kuskokwim Valley. So look for a wintry mix there as you go farther in the interior. And farther north along the Brooks Range and the Arctic coastline, scattered snow showers. Temperatures as 1 p.m. today, excuse me, the southeast, pretty much the mid 40s to upper 50s, just east into the British Columbia region. You had 50 at Sitka today. The northern Gulf, south central region, you had 52 at Cordova, 52 at Anchorage, going down to 51 at Homer, 42 at Kodiak, and along the Alaska Peninsula and the eastern Aleutians, pretty much the lower 40s. Temperatures as 1 p.m. Again, no surprise the coldest temperatures were along the northern Arctic coastline, with a low temperature there at Point Lay. And starting to warm up a little bit is down there to Gamble at 25. The southeast, again, temperatures all in the mid 40s. As 1 p.m. Along the chain there, again, lower 40s, 43 at Dutch, 39 at Adak and Atka, and coldest temperature there down at Shemya. But that'll be warming up with that southwesterly or southeasterly flow, and the warm temperatures starting to come in. Tonight's low temperatures, coldest temperatures along the Arctic coastline with that easterly flow, not surprising. You can see the southerly push of warm air continued. You're going to have low temperature ranging in the mid-30s to lower 30s, and mid-30s to upper 30s there along the chain. Southeast, pretty much the lower 40s, 44 there at Kloak. And then tomorrow's high temperatures, it's definitely spring weather there in the upper mid-40s to lower 50s, and coolest temperatures are there in the single digits along the Arctic coastline. The south along the Alaska, along the chain, you're going to have temperatures in the mid-40s, and then gradually diminishing down to 39 at Shemya. The southeast continued with that onshore flow, temperatures 50 there at just north of Sitka. Tomorrow's flying weather, IFR to marginal VFR along the southwest coastline, YK Delta, extending up into the Seward Peninsula, as well along the Brooks Range, extending along the eastern Arctic coastline. Along the Kodiak region, also the Portage and the western portions of Prince William Sound, and the interior of the southeastern Panhandle, and just southwest of the western Aleutians with that front pushing in. Tomorrow afternoon, you'll see increase of IFR conditions there with that front pushing in, but they will be improving in the afternoon with the conditions through the northern Bering, as well as along the Brooks Range and Arctic coastline. The southeast, you'll get continued worse conditions in the interior, and conditions will improve there in the northern Gulf coastal communities. Tomorrow's flying weather, Anaktuvuk, IFR to marginal VFR improving in the afternoon. Adigan, marginal VFR. Lake Clark to Merrill, marginal to VFR improving in the afternoon. Rainy, IFR to marginal VFR improving in the afternoon. Windy, VFR conditions. Isabel, marginal VFR to VFR improving in the afternoon. Mataska, MVFR to VFR improving in the afternoon. And then Tanita, marginal VFR to VFR improving in the afternoon. Portage, IFR to marginal VFR improving in the afternoon. And then Chilcoot and White, IFR conditions. Then the freezing levels tomorrow, not surprising that northerly flow pushing the surface temperatures all the way down to the freezing level to the central Aleutians, and as well as down the YK Delta region. And it's moving into the southeast, the Anchorage Bowl, and the east into the Yukon Territory. You can see the freezing levels lower. Warmest freezing levels will be with this occluded systems pushing up with a strong southerly push of warm air. So you're going to see freezing levels 2,000 to 6,000. And for the most part over the southwest and northern coastal communities, 2,000, and then it improves to 4,000 as you get farther north and farther south in the North Pacific. Tomorrow's icing, 7,000 to 10,000 along the Alaska Peninsula and eastern Aleutians, and above 4,000 along the central to eastern Brooks Range, and then just north along the Alaska Range above 4,000. Also swath over Kodiak extending eastward into the western Gulf from 7,000 to 10,000. And the southeast Panhandle, 7,000 to 10,000 for tomorrow. Oh, I skipped the upper level jet there, but the flow there is pretty much the same. You have a strong southwesterly push. I can't really show you now, but anyway, tomorrow's 9,000 foot winds. You're going to have these weak low pressure systems sitting over the Brooks Range, southwest territory, as well as just south of Kodiak, a cyclonic flow, weak flow around them, except northeasterly 20 to 25 knots there near Barrow. Over the Gulf, strongest winds are going to be southwest 25, 35 there with that next system, and then transitions to northwesterly with a ridge sitting over the central Gulf. The southeast continued southerly flow 30 to 40 knots, and then it transitions to easterly 25 to 35 as you go farther north in the interior. Tomorrow's 3,000 foot winds. Again, your stronger flow is going to be from the central Aleutians out to the western with that strong included system coming in. So southwesterly flow, 45 to 35 knots predominantly. And then it transitions again with that ridge sitting through the central Bering. Northwesterly flow out ahead of it. And that'll go northwesterly 25 down through the Dutch Harbor area. And then you have a low sitting just south of Kodiak and a weak low sitting over just south of East Brooks Range. It's cyclonic flow, pretty weak flow around the low pressure here, 5 knots. And then this low southerly flow is stronger as you go towards Hattagwai, southerly 25. Then it transitions to westerly 10 to 15 knots. Tomorrow's turbulence below 4,000 along the eastern Aleutians to Dutch, also below 4,000 light to occasional moderate for the western Aleutians there near Shemya, and then along the Arctic coastline below 4,000. As well over the southeast, just near the Dixon entrance there, below 5,000. And that's it for your weather right now. We'll be back with your marine forecast.
Let's go retro. Welcome to Stargazers. I'm Dean Regas, astronomer from the Cincinnati Observatory.
And I'm James Albury, director of the Kika Silva Pla Planetarium in Gainesville, Florida. At the end of this week, 2 planets will do a cosmic backpedal that had astronomers scratching their heads for centuries.
That's right, James. On April 16th and 19th, respectively, the planets Mars and Mercury begin moving backwards against the background stars. We call it retrograde motion, and it's a heavenly sign that great things are about to happen.
What are we talking about? Let's show you. Throughout human history, people have studied the motions of the planets. They call them wandering stars because they appeared to move against the background of fixed stars. Furthermore, they would occasionally change their direction, speed, brightness, and even their color.
Ancient Greek astronomers referred to these wandering stars as asteros planetes, which we have shortened today to planet. The individual names we use for the planets today are derived from characters in Roman mythology.
For example, Mercury is named after the messenger of the Roman gods. He was known for his speed, and this planet lives up to its namesake. Mercury is traveling over 100,000 miles per hour around the Sun, and can complete one orbit of the Sun in about 88 days.
Mars, the red planet, is special because of its dramatic change in brightness and color. The reddish color of the surface of Mars prompted many cultures to associate this planet with their gods of blood and violence.
Before the true nature of planetary motion was understood, it was believed that whenever Mars began moving backwards in the sky, war, pestilence, and death were not far behind.
Furthermore, since Mercury was the messenger of the gods, it was often thought to be a bad idea to do anything involving communications whenever Mercury was in retrograde.
Keep in mind, when people first observed the heavens, they believed the Earth was in the center of the universe. So, in order to explain retrograde motion, astronomers came up with complex models of the solar system.
Followers of the geocentric model of the solar system devised a complicated series of overlapping circles to explain planetary motion. Each planet was assumed to move on a small circle called an epicycle, which in turn moved on a larger circle called a deferent, which was centered on a point in space called an eccentric.
After about 10 minutes of looking at this celestial whirligig, it makes my head hurt. So, fortunately, through the efforts of Copernicus, Kepler, and Newton, we now understand how, why, and when the planets will move as they do.
The cause of retrograde motion is quite simple, and it's something you've all experienced. Imagine you're on a 3-lane highway. Mercury is in the fast lane on the left, Mars is the slow lane on the right, and you're in the middle lane. If you're traveling faster than the car next to you, that car will appear to be moving backwards with respect to the background. This is what is happening between Earth and Mars.
So, every 26 months as we get close to Mars in our orbit, we pass it, and it appears to move backwards, and it gets brighter as we get closer. An observer on Mercury looking at Earth would see the same effect every 4 months. From our perspective, since Mercury is always near the Sun, Mercury will appear to be moving from east to west as it passes between us and the Sun. Speaking of which, let's see where both these planets will be next week. Okay, we have our skies set for just after sunset on Tuesday, April 18th, your local time facing west. Just below the stars of Taurus the Bull, you'll see Mercury close to the horizon. Starting on April 19th, Mercury will begin getting lower and lower in the sky each day as it starts passing us. And on May 9th this year, we will see Mercury pass directly in front of the Sun in what astronomers call a transit.
Now, if we advance our clock to midnight on April 19th, you'll see the planet Mars among the stars of Scorpius the Scorpion. As the weeks pass, you'll see Mars moving westward. It'll pass between the stars Grapheus and Shuba, and just as it nears the constellation Libra on July 4th, it'll resume its normal west-east movement among the stars.
So head outside and get retro with Mercury and Mars next week.
Keep looking up.
Welcome back to your Alaska weather. I'm meteorologist Perry Daney. Starting off with your sea surface temperatures, pretty much the cooler temperatures are going to be through the central Bering and the lower Bering here with a northerly flow, cooler air coming in. Over the southeast, with the southerly flow, it's not surprising to see the warmer sea surface temperatures along the southeast panhandle extending just south from Hanagwai southeastward. Now start off with the sea ice. Continued ice cover through the Beaufort and the lower Chukchi Sea, and as you extend through this region right in here, you're going to have some light along the southwest, the Norton Sound region. You're going to have some weak ice in here, not very stable, as well as you start going along the southwest territory here, southwest coastline. So that ice is starting to break up as well as you get down just north of Nunavik Island. Again, this ice pack was predominantly all thick right through here through the northern Bering Sea. And then you get some light ice extending down into the Kuskokwim Bay as well. Friday's marine forecast for the southeast. The interior southeasterly flow, then southerly as it starts to weaken to 15 knots as you get in the near Juneau or Lynn Canal region. The outside waters all predominantly all southerly flow, 20 knots. Wave heights at 7 to 9 feet. Then for Saturday, the Lynn Canal is going to be variable winds, light winds there. Then as you go farther south, they're going to be northeast, and then the outside water is predominantly all southeast flow. Wave heights are 10 to 11 feet there. And then Friday marine forecast for the south central, you're going to have predominantly all easterly flow, then northeasterly from Prince William Sound down to just on the eastern Kenai region. And then you get towards the Barren Islands, you're going to easterly small craft winds, and then start weakening as you get towards Kodiak, easterly 15 knots. And then from the northern Cook Inlet all the way down to the Shelikof Strait region, you're going to have all northeasterly flow, small craft, a little weaker over the North Cook Inlet there. And then for Saturday marine forecast, easterly flow through the northern Gulf and the Prince William Sound region, and then northeast, this east along the eastern Kenai there, and then predominantly east to northeast for the Barren region, and then also south of Kodiak region. The inside waters there, the northern Cook Inlet, northerly, northeasterly, then southerly on the southern end, and then southeast through the Barren Islands region, and then northeast through Shelikof region. And then Friday's marine forecast for the Alaska Peninsula, predominantly all northerly flow. You're going to have small craft winds near on the Bering side, near just west of Perryville, and then on the Pacific side, strongest winds there near the Shumigan Islands, northerly flow there, 25 knots. Then Saturday, Alaska Peninsula, you're going to have northwesterly flow, less than small craft winds there, 15 knots, and then northerly to northwesterly there through the Shumigan Islands. Then Friday marine forecast for the Aleutians, from Adak eastward, you're going to have northwesterly flow, small craft, and then with that next included low pressure systems south of the Shemya there, your winds are going to start shifting to the southeast, and they're going to be storm force there by Shemya. And then for Saturday, predominantly all southeasterly gale force winds with that, again, that strong low pressure system, included low, that's going to be pushing into the western Aleutians. So you're showing that it reflects that, it's reflected with a strong southeasterly flow. Near Dutch, you're going to have northerly 20 knots, and then on the Pacific side, south of Dutch, northwesterly 25 knots. And then for the west coast for Friday, primarily all northerly flow, 15 to 20 knots. Small craft as you get in the Kuskokwim Bay and the eastern Bering, as well as small craft northwesterly there, the Pribilos. Some freezing spray issues there near Nunavik Island and extending into the Kuskokwim Bay region. Saturday's marine forecast for the west coast. Northerly flow coming out of the northern Bering, and then northwesterly along the YK Delta region into the Bristol Bay region. And then more southeasterly from the Pribilofs, again with that strong low pressure system that's going to be pushing into the western Aleutians. And then easterly flow through the St. Matthew region. And then for Arctic coastline for Friday, easterly flow, you do have some small craft winds there as you approach Barrow, and then it's all easterly, gale force near Wainwright. And then as you go farther south, there's all northerly 15 knots as you get into the Bering Strait. Saturday, marine forecast for Arctic coastline, pretty much from Katovik all the way to Barrow, northeast flow, 15 to 20 knots. And then it's a little stronger, small craft as you get on along the northwest coastline, easterly 25, extending down and diminishes to 15 going through the Bering Strait region. And then tonight's forecast, again, you get the occluded low that's sitting just south of the eastern Aleutians with the trailing occluded front that's extending through Kodiak into the eastern Gulf. That's falling apart. You're going to have a continued southeasterly flow and then light rain through the southeast panhandle. Farther north along the eastern Alaska range, you're going to have the easterly flow here with blowing snow issues, tidal gradient. Farther north along the Arctic coastline and the Brooks range, you're going to have blowing snow issues there, as well as you've seen before. We had the hazards out there for blowing snow advisories and blizzards along the blizzard warning along the eastern coastline there. Along the northern Bering Strait, you're going to have scattered snow showers with this weak trough that's pushing through. And then along the eastern Aleutians and the eastern Bering, your northeasterly flow, northerly flow there, you're going to have a wintry mix as you get approaching the Adak and Atka. Out farther southwest of the Pribilofs, southwesterly flow with the strong gradient coming in and the wintry mix in that region. So you can look for that, for those wintry conditions to happen. And then Friday's forecast, this occluded low just south of the Kodiak will continue to fall apart, weak trough, onshore flow, continued blowing snow issues there along the Arctic coastline and scattery snow showers through the northern Bering Strait. That's Alaska weather.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.